child, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm very sorry. So how many of you know Halifax? No, a few of you, that's good, that's good. Back in the day, Halifax was a really rough place. And I think, blooms here, no. Back in the day, I was driving Saturday night, Halifax was known as the Wild West of West Yorkshire. People used to come on coach tours from all over the north of England to Halifax for a night out. You can believe that. And they came for two reasons. First of all, it was cheap. You get a pint of vodka and a shot of beer for about 50 pence. They sound the right way around. And second, there were more pubs and clubs per square mile in Halifax than any other town in the UK. So if you can get drunk cheap, you can get drunk fast. As soon as you start to walk from one pub to the next pub to the club. And so Halifax had kind of got this reputation as being the night out capital of the north of England. As I say, people will come on coach tours, and the police reckoned that on any given Friday or Saturday night, there was between 8,000 and 12,000 people in Halifax town centre, basically having a night out, means getting drunk. And with it came all sorts of issues and problems. Night-ups and wonders around the town centre, and what I saw was really horrendous. People lying in the gutter, police running from one fight to the next fight, people just randomly throwing glass bottles and getting hit on the head. And I thought, you know what, as a Christian, I believe that our town deserves better than all of this stuff that happens on a weekend evening. Now, it's okay to think these things, isn't it? But you know what thought and prayer that should lead to? Action. If you're going to think about something, you're going to pray about something, actually, a lot of the time, the answer to that prayer. And so I had this idea that the church is together at the night to have this wonderful cafe facility. And I thought, for someone who likes to be in bed at 10 o'clock, wouldn't it be great to open this cafe as kind of a safe place to drop in between 9 o'clock at night and 3 o'clock in the morning. So I took this idea to the people that own the cafe. They said, yeah, we'll think you've been murdered, but we'll say yes anyway, which I'm not quite sure what that says about me. And a week later, I was having a meeting with the town centre police sergeant. And I went up to him after the meeting, I introduced myself, and I shared this idea. And this policeman got very excited. I've never seen an excited policeman. It's always good when you see excited policemen. And he says, let me go away and talk to my bosses. And he came back to us a week later, even more excited. He says, you know, nationally it is recognised by the police, this was back in 2005, nationally it is recognised by the police that when the church gets involved in something, amazing results happen. We don't know why, we don't know how, but the church is the winning formula that will solve crime, that will bring crime down, and that will work in our towns and cities across the UK. Isn't it great that the police recognise that the church has something? And 17, 18 years later, the police still recognise that the church is a main agent of change in our nation, nationally. I think that's exciting. So he says, you know, lots of agencies have talked about the problem. We believe you're going to do something, you're supposed to just talk about doing something, because lots of agencies just like to turn up at meetings and talk about issues. We'll support you, we'll back you. He then reached into his back pocket and produced a cheque for £1,000. How do you know the police often turn up with £1,000 in their back pockets? And he says, but we'd like to launch in 2 weeks' time. Friday the 25th of November 2005, which coincidentally lining with the change in the licensing laws. So pubs used to have to close at 11, clubs used to have to close at 3. He says, we want a fresh new approach to policing Halifax Town Centre as of this night, and we want you to be part of it. So we sat in this meeting, there was 4 of us in this meeting with Dave, the police officer, and we said, well, you know, December is a fairly quiet time for people involved in churches. Not much else goes on, does it? So we said, let's give something a go. Let's commit to 6 weeks of opening our cafe and seeing what happens. So we sent out emails to all the churches in the town. The local newspaper ran this very helpful front page headline that said, drop by if you're drunk, which wasn't quite where we're going, but there we go. And we turned up at our cafe for 9 o'clock on Friday the 25th of November 2005, not having a clue what we were doing, not having a clue what to expect. But actually, I think that is such a great place to be. Because when we don't know what we're doing, when we don't know what to expect, that's when God can come and do the amazing and miraculous and fantastic through us to impact a world that so desperately needs Him. So that is a great place to be. Now amazingly, 50 other people turned up to volunteer that cold November night. Now we had a problem. Our cafe is fairly small, probably kind of think that size, so a quarter of the room there. If anybody wanted help, they couldn't actually get into the cafe to receive help because too many people were sat there waiting to help them, which is a fantastic problem to have. So rather than sitting in our cafe waiting for people to come to us, waiting for people to find what we're doing, why not go out into the streets of the town centre and see what the needs and the issues and the problems are out there on the streets of the town centre. And again, I think that is such an important lesson to the church. How often do we run our activities in our church buildings, waiting for people to come to us? Because actually, Jesus said, go.
Go, yeah.
He didn't say, just put on an event and wait for them to come. He said to us, go into all the world. And so we did that. We just went into the town centre, we wandered around, we thought that our original name, rather sappy name of Nighttime Safe Place Drop-In, was not quite attractive enough and didn't quite sort of match what we were doing. So we thought of this name, Street Angels, because we thought that sounded better. It does, doesn't it? Nighttime Safe Place Drop-In. So we kind of came with this concept of safe people that wandered around the town, as well as offered this safe place drop-in back at our cafe base. And amazingly, it worked. In the first 6 weeks, we helped 69 different people. Ranging from early on in the evening when we'd be helping people leaving the theatre, because Halifax is a very cultured place, of course, we have several theatres. So we hang out outside the theatre, walk people to the bus stop or to the car, or wait with them to a taxi or lift came. And as the evening progressed, obviously people became slightly more, what's the posh word, inebriated, we'll go with that word, and drinking alcohol kind of played a big part of the problems and the issues that we were seeing. And I'll tell you a story, it's quite a shocking story, from our second weekend. About 1:15 in the morning, myself and 2 ladies in our Street Angel team, so these 2 young ladies that were kind of, I say walking, the wall was kind of guiding them along the road. And we sort of watched them and we followed them on. They went into quite a horrible pub and club. About 10-15 minutes later, we got a call from the radio, because by now we're being CCTV radios. One of these girls was unconscious, and the club had kind of called an ambulance for her. The other girl was still conscious, so the club had kind of carried her outside, sat her on some steps and said, can either the police or the Street Angels come and help, please? So I turned up with the Street Angels team. By now we had sort of high-vis yellow jackets, so we're kind of all official and looked like we knew what we were doing. We did honest. The police turned up, the girl was sick, so the police said, we'll leave her for you to deal with, and walked off, which is very kind of them. So we said, okay then, this girl, fairly young girl, long blonde hair, she'd been rolling around the toilet floor, so leave that to your imagination what mess she was in. So we said, we can't leave her here, let's walk her back to our cafe. So we picked her up and she fell down, we picked her up again and she fell down. So we said, okay then, we can't walk her back to our cafe, let's carry her back to our cafe. So we set off through the town centre, carrying this young lady from these steps back to our cafe base. Another team of Street Angels was coming to respond. One came up to her and says, Paul, I'm her teacher, she's 14 years old. We kind of got her back to our cafe, thought we'll deal with that one later. Eventually found her mobile phone on her, phoned her parents. This was now about 2 o'clock on Sunday morning. Her mum answered and said, don't send her home in that state, we're not interested. After about another half an hour sitting in our cafe, we managed to find her sister's phone number, phoned her sister, who came to town with a friend, picked her up and took her back to this friend's house. Now we felt nothing else of it other than we'd helped quite a vulnerable 14-year-old girl and got her somewhere safe. 4.5 years later, the same girl came up to me. And she said, first of all, oh, you won't remember me, will you? I said, oh, yes, I do. And sort of recap the story of the night that we met her. And she said, you know, that night changed my life. And she began to tell us her story. So now been coming to Halifax Town Centre every weekend from the age of 12. She says, my relationship with my family was messed up, my school life was going nowhere. She says, basically my life was a total and utter mess. But in exact words were, because you idiots in yellow jackets decided that I was worth looking after, I decided that my life was worth more than the life that I was living. As of that weekend, she stopped going out drinking. She sorted out the relationship problems that she was having with her family. She settled down at school. She'd done well at GCSEs. She stayed up at school to do A-levels, and she was at home for the Easter holidays from her first year at university. All because these idiots in yellow jackets decided actually she was worth investing the time in to look after her. And as street angels, we have this saying, love the person in front of you. Now what a challenge that is. How often do we need to, as we go about our daily business, to simply love the person in front of you? And a lot of what we do is very simple. I've got some examples here. We give out plenty of these. Little ladies, usually, sometimes men, but usually the ladies, driving scooters in the car, walking, you're a good lot, aren't you, here? Goodness me. Number of times I've stuck plasters on girls, picked out bits of glass, stuck plasters on the feet with antiseptic wipe, and given them a pair of flip-flops to go on the way, which costs about £1, which I think is quite good value. So lots of pairs of flip-flops. We have these. Everybody run the marathon here? Did you get one of these at the end? I various of the machines run the Hornsey half marathon the other week. Then we're going to be the model of this. Oh, come on, there's usually some. Oh, come on then. We've got the singer. You're going to wear it the rest of the afternoon. No, I won't do it in a minute. Look at that. That's only the point. We won't just struggle. Again, things like this, people on nights out often don't wear that many clothes. So our teams having those can often be lifesavers. Bottles of water, first aid kits. Then my favourite thing that the teams carry.
Lollipop.
Does anyone want to guess why we have lollipops? Oh, there's a better reason than sugar. Has anybody ever seen anybody having a fight with a lollipop in the mouth? I don't know who discovered this, but if we see groups of lads kind of sizing up to each other, we're sending a volunteer, a little old lady who works exceptionally well at this, trust me. And we go up to her and say, excuse me lads, would you like a lollipop? And immediately they go, what? Oh, go on mate, because people like free things, don't they? Wherever you are in the world, people love something for nothing. Of course, lollipops are hard to run out before beers, so after a few beers, by the time they put a lollipop in the mouth, they've forgotten they were fighting. It's amazing, it works time and time again. But simple things that actually make a massive difference on the streets of our towns and cities. So we got to the end of our trial, and we said, shall we stop or shall we carry on? And we kind of carried on. And I was invited to a meeting with by the Chief Constable of Coverdale Police. This is a meeting with about 100 people. It was filled with the mayors from across the borough, police at all levels. And we said, will you come and share with us for about 5 minutes what's happening in Halifax on a Friday, Saturday night? And I remember standing up in this meeting, and I just kind of got carried away, really. I said, you know, when Christians pray, God's kingdom come, God's will be done, on earth as in heaven, and we put that prayer into action, there will be a remarkable difference in our town centre. And the police were sat there going, oh no, what have we invited? What is the honour now? And I said stuff like, crime will come down, the atmosphere will change, different businesses will be attracted to the town centre because prayer and action works. Now fast forward, that was in February, fast forward to November, when the police released the crime figures, which the Home Office is watching very carefully because of the change in the licensing laws. And Halifax Police were the only police force to report that violent crime and antisocial behaviour, which normally increases on a Friday, Saturday night, have reduced by 42%. And the only thing that they were doing different was street angels. The church in action, prayer in action together makes a remarkable difference in our town and city centres. So the Home Office wanted to do this investigation as to why the Halifax Police were lying, or why they kind of manipulated the crime figures to go down. And the Home Office did this investigation, worked out, no, the crime figures really had gone down by 42%. And the reason was that A, the police were willing to work in partnership with other agencies, and being people who care are out on the streets of the town centre, simply caring for other people at a time when it most mattered. Isn't it amazing what a few idiots wandering around the town centre wandering around the town centre, simply loving people, taking time to chat with people, sorting out problems and issues, putting Christianity, faith into action at a time when it was most needed, the impact that can have. So because it worked in Halifax very quickly, the police in other areas of the country began to go to their local church and say, hey, you should be doing this. Isn't it exciting when the police drives the agenda of the church? Because often they get it and the church doesn't. When the police go to the church and go, you're the answer to the crime figures in our town centre on a weekend evening. Come on, get to it. I think that's kind of exciting. And it's kind of something that should be encouraging. So we very quickly began to spread our wings and launch street angels in lots of other towns and cities. So we've now got projects from Scotland, Northern Ireland, all the way through England. We've even reached Bridlington and Beverley, Scarborough, Whitby, going up the coast into Middlesbrough and South Shields, up to Dundee, and all the way down the coast into Newquay in Cornwall. We've launched into Magaluf. Has anybody been to Magaluf recently? Well, you need to go there, it's a great place. Seychelles, Tenerife, America, Brazil, Australia, all because of this simple question, why a simple response to the needs and the situation in Halifax Town Centre on a Friday, Saturday night. And most of the places where we work, there is a remarkable, noticeable difference that's proven by statistics that violent crime and antisocial behaviour reduces when you put Christians and the community out to the streets of the town centre and you put prayer into action, which I think is fantastic. We haven't just stayed on the streets. Has anybody been to a nightclub recently?
Yeah.
Yes. That was a rather loud yes. So this young lady here is out now. She finished the set here now on stage. The girl that was heading up Leeds, that's thrown me now, is that in the street? Which nightclubs?
Me and Dylan went together actually. We went to Spiders for my birthday. It was in February, so.
Is that a local, well-known one? Is it Spiders?
Spiders in colour, it's like rock kind of club.
Alright, very good. So I'm sure we'll be there. So the girl that was heading up Leeds Street Angels worked out that lots of the problems on the street actually start at the nightclubs. So we set up this, she talked to the pubs and the clubs in Leeds, and Tiger, which at the time was certainly a massively well-known, massive club in the centre of Leeds, said, yeah, we'd love to work with you, so we do this thing called Club Angels. We're going to nightclubs with an agenda to chat, help, listen and care. And it's great that we've got Club Angels now working across the UK, including in some of the more dubious clubs in Soho, in London. We've got teams that are going to there and support some of the girls. And again, it's just great that we're allowed into nightclubs as Christians to be Christians in the club. And I'll tell you a wonderful story from Leeds. It's a few years old now. But I was out with the students in the Student Union Bar in Leeds. And before we went to do the Club Angels bit, we all got together to pray and seek out prophetic words for people in the nightclub that night in the Student Union Bar. So I was with this lad, and he had 3 prophetic words. The first one was a person called Simon who was in despair. The second one was a penguin. And the third one was somebody linked to the person called Simon in despair, going through a traumatic experience. So there we are, stood in the entrance of this nightclub in the Student Union Bar. Probably about 6,000-7,000 students coming in that night. Then walks a penguin and 2 girls with him. And he's like, this lad's like, maybe I should go and talk to the penguin. So I've got to put him down here, the penguin. So he goes up to the penguin and says, hello, I'm a Christian. We were praying earlier and God gave me this word, penguin. And then the word despair came out. Does that mean anything to you? And this lad breaks down in tears and he says, yeah, I've been at Leeds Uni now for 4 years. I've spent most of my time in the bar here, not actually doing my studies. I'm just about to fail my course. I'm kind of at a despair moment of what do I do with the rest of my life. So I've probably messed up this experience. It's left me with massive debts. Oh, and by the way, I used to be a Catholic, but I've been thinking recently that I should change my faith. What do you recommend? So it's like Grant sort of shares a bit about Jesus and gives him a copy of the New Testament to take on his way, prays with him, and then he kind of goes. Meanwhile, these two girls that kind of stood there, these two girls have berets on. And so he's thinking, why are they kind of here? So he goes up to one and says, excuse me, I'm a Christian, I've just been praying earlier, and I got this message about something called Simon, it's linked to you, sort of this going through a tough situation. And this girl said, oh yeah, Simon's my dad. And the mum and dad are just going through a divorce. I'm at university, it's kind of split the family, so some have gone off on my dad's side, some have gone off on my mum's side. It's kind of left me here and I'm kind of in despair of it, I'm confused about everything that's going on. It's quite a hurtful moment. Will you pray for me? And so they just prayed there, and then they went off. It's amazing that God, in the middle of a student union bar, with 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 students, can have specific words for people. All we have to do is step out of the boat and just be willing to just act like fools, basically, and go up to a penguin and go, I think God's given me a word for you. So that's a challenge there. Often you just need to step out of the boat and actually put faith in action and risk looking a bit like an idiot, because actually we're all idiots to God, aren't we? So that's Club Angels. Has anybody been to a music festival recently? Back in 2010, this 79-year-old Methodist lady wasn't a regular Leeds festival, which happens every August bank holiday at Drummond Park, but she got a vision to do something at Leeds Festival. Every weekend, 85,000 people turn up at Drummond Park, predominantly 15, 16, 17-year-olds. And she thought that we should be there as the local church. She actually wanted to celebrate the 400th anniversary, I think it's 400, of the King James Bible. She thought, what better way of celebrating it than going to in a cafe at Leeds Festival? So this 79-year-old lady got this vision. She managed to get through to the top man of the festival public. We said, yeah, what we'll do is put you up a marquee free of charge. Come and do whatever you want as the local church, as the local Methodist church. So she rocked up at Leeds Festival with 11 of her friends, with a couple of kettles, some tea and coffee and a few cokes, and basically ran a cafe from 2 till 4 on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And it worked. Kids, just the 15, 16, 17 year olds just loved the fact that there was a cafe at Leeds and it was kind of there for them. And they loved the fact that these 12 old ladies were there just able to chat with them and connect with them. The 79-year-old then said that festival life is probably not for me. So she handed over to Andy, who was the vicar in Thorn, which is the parish next door to Drummond Park, where Leeds Festival is. He said, you can do this, because I'm too old at 79. So he went in the second year, set up this cafe, we ran it from 9 till 5, with 25 volunteers in year 2. Again, had an amazing response from the young people at the festival, and kind of connected with them in all sorts of years. Year 3, Festival Republic rang up Andy and said, look, we love what you guys are doing. We love the dynamic that you as a church bring to Leeds Festival. This is a major UK music festival, so we love the dynamic that the church brings to the festival. First of all, can you open your cafe from like 12 noon on Wednesday, keep it open through the night to 12 noon on Monday. Secondly, we've seen these street angels that wander around Leeds. You think we have festival angels that wander around the festival site from 12 noon on Wednesday through the night to 12 noon on Monday. Thirdly, we don't trust the company that's running our lost property tent. We kind of trust you. Can we pay you to run our lost property tent from 12 noon on Wednesday through the night to 12 noon on Monday and sort out all the lost property and get it back to the people that have lost it afterwards? So Andy says, yeah, of course, no problem at all. Put the phone down and thought, how on earth is 25 people going to do that? So he found me, he said, can we work together on this? And we've worked together over the last 12 festivals now. We've built up a team of 117. It's such a privilege to be at these festivals. I was there 3 weeks ago with 170 volunteers. We opened this prayer cafe. It's amazing that young people just want to pray. You know, they pay £250 to be at this music festival, and they come and sit in our cafe at all times of day, colouring in Bible verses. I hope they thought the cutting-edge youth work in Leeds Festival was having some Bible verses there, some felt tip pens, and kids just sat there colouring them in. If you go on the Leeds Festival Intro website, you can see all of these colouring ins that kids have done. And they just come and sit, and it's just a great atmosphere. We sell these mugs for £7, which then give people unlimited free tea, coffee, hot water for their pot noodles, juice, biscuits for the entire festival. Now we sold 6,000 of those mugs. We sold probably 4,000 or 5,000 stickers that we can stick on the phones or on mugs that they brought with them. And we served something like 44,000 cups of tea and coffee over the course of 5 days. Which I think is amazing. So whoever's on the tea and coffee today, you've got something to eat there. But again, it's just fantastic. Our cafe kind of became a community. We also returned the idea, whilst we're at another festival, we have this wonderful Jesus Loves Festival logo in that's plastered all over the banner. People love having a selfie with Jesus. It's the kind of new things that young people relate to. We thought, we were chatting about this design, thought, what else can we do around this design? And I came up with the idea of having tattoos. So I went home and ordered 1,000+ tattoos. And it's amazing, these young people were buying these tattoos at £1, sticking them on all parts of their body. I won't tell you where some of them went. And then we became the trendy thing to do at these festivals, to come and have a Jesus Loves Festival tattoo. So these young people actually paid to be evangelists, which I think is quite a great idea. So if anybody wants to shop their children or grandchildren or parents, then there's some tattoos over there that will help us out. But again, it was amazing. 900 people just wandering around Leeds Festival saying Jesus Loves Festival. I think that's quite a crazy idea. It's kind of got tough to be worked. And often there's lots of crazy ideas that people have. And we think, no, that never work. No, that's too out there. But can I encourage you, God is the God of crazy ideas. If you have a crazy idea, just try it. What have you got to fail by it? 1,000 tattoos costs what, £300? And where was the neighbour bloody back? But just give it a go. So tattoos, lots of opportunities to prayer. It's amazing what young people are just going through. When you come and sit with them round the table, and sit and chat, and you're there, and you have a bit of a laugh with them, and they say, oh, you're one of these Christians, can you pray? Because my grandma's going through this, the parents are going through this, I've just got my GCSE levels, and it's crazy. It's amazing how young people in our nation are so open to the concept of prayer, and just want people to connect with them, and pray with them, and just get alongside. But again, unless we go to where they're at, they will probably never come to where we're at. So again, it's all about the going and just being there, just loving people. And at festivals, it's just such a great opportunity. So because it works so well at Leeds, we've launched into Kendal Calling, and lots of the last festival season, which was 2019, we're at 70 festivals, we've been at 12 this year. But again, it's the church being where people are at, just sharing faith and putting faith into action. It's such a fantastic opportunity. So if anybody fancies Leeds Festival next year, you can get your free tickets in exchange for serving 44,000 cups of teas and coffees. And we also do lost property, where we return probably about 60% of about 1,500 items that are lost at Leeds. We get them back to their owners. We have a wonderful team working on that, and teams that wander around the festival sites, helping people, connecting with people, loving people, serving people, getting alongside people, putting up tents, carrying luggage, helping people navigate the site, all of that stuff. Again, very practical, prayer in action. And all of this stuff works. Because you know what? God works. The gospel works. People are so interested in the person of Jesus. And he has the power to transform lives, to redeem people, to bring life, hope, joy, purpose, peace. And we see that time and time again for the works that we do on the streets, at festivals, in nightclubs, around communities, with the homeless community, with the asylum seekers, with refugees, and all of these other areas that we work in. We see that often Jesus is the answer Jesus and the love that he has, the acceptance that he has for people, and the fact that he's for people, that against people, and that we as a church are standing in, loving the person into this time and time again. So to finish, can I encourage you, as you go about your daily lives, love the person in front of you. Realise that when you don't have a clue what you're doing, when you have these crazy ideas and thoughts, when you're just totally out of your depth, that's when God can step in and do the wonderful, the miraculous, the amazing through you. Because that's what God loves to do, time and time again. You know, you are God's plan A for this nation. Just look around you. You are God's plan A. You know what? God doesn't have a plan B. There's not another Holy Spirit waiting, there's not another Jesus waiting in the wings. You know, the fact that Jesus once and for all died on that cross for the sins of all humanity, period. The fact that the same Holy Spirit that raised Christ from the dead is in you, is at work in you. And the reason for that is not so we can come and sit in a nice, cosy, comfortable Sunday meeting week after week. But that is to be world changers, to be people who bring hope to other people, to be people who are so filled with the joy and the love and the hope and the peace and the acceptance and the forgiveness that Christ offers, that just flows out of us into the lives of other people. And you know what? People are so desperate. On Monday, we are going to have the biggest evangelistic occasion that this country has ever seen. You know that? I believe that the Queen's funeral, the gospel will be preached because the Queen was a woman of faith. And there's going to be probably 90% of the nation, probably the world, watching on Monday that funeral. And they're going to hear of this Jesus that loves people. And the faith that the Queen had that sustained her for her 70 years of reign. And I think that will be publicly declared. So there's going to be opportunity in this next week as you speak to your family, as you speak to your friends, as you speak to your neighbours, the person on the bus, the person in the supermarket queue. People are going to be affected by the words spoken. And us in this room are God's plan A. You can connect. So as you watch the video, you'll be praying, what can I use on this occasion that's going to affect my world, my sphere of influence over these next few weeks? Just pray for opportunity after opportunity to love the person in front of you and to bring the joy and the hope and the peace that Christ in you and through you can offer to other people. Is that a good challenge? Yeah. Shall we pray? Lord, we thank you that you are the God of the amazing, the impossible, the miraculous, and you choose to do it through each and every one of us. Lord, we pray that we're not all called to go to festivals or to go out onto the streets on a Friday, Saturday night or to go into nightclubs, but each of us can be your witnesses in the places where we are. Each of us can be bringers of your hope and your peace and your joy and your love and your forgiveness and your restoration that you have in each and every person. Each and every one of us can help show someone else that they are loved, that they are amazing because you created them to be loved and to be amazing. Lord, give us the opportunities in this next week, in these next months, to be bold, to be crazy, to just not have a clue what we're doing, but to allow you to work in us and through us. Lord, just give us those opportunities. Lord, may we be faithful in responding to the opportunities in front of us. Lord, we thank you that you are the giver of life and the giver of hope. You're the one that can bring the crime figures down. You're the one that can change communities, but it needs us to partner with you to do that. To help us to be people who are even more adventurous, bold, and willing to stand up for you in these days to come. Amen.
Amen.